Hello everybody and welcome Internet to the pilot episode of Tears of Joy, the only quiz show where the only trivia you have to know is your own opinion. I'm the Comic Foil, and with me is a very special guest, a man who owns more pictures in his home of Lynn from Fire Emblem than his own wife. It is, of course, the GreenScorpion.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? And how dare you call me out like that?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to... I'm trying some things. I'm deciding how mean of a host I want to be, if I want to be a heel. Today's gonna be a day of experimentation, I think, of what the show really is.
It's good to know I'm gonna be a very valuable guinea pig for you today.
Yeah, I didn't know what was gonna happen, how it would mentally affect my guests, so I thought it might as well be Oscar to be the first person to be subjected to this.
Hey, I'll do anything for my best friend, so I am more than willing to put myself on the spot here, so I'm ready.
Alright, well, what we'll be doing here on Tears of Joy is we're going to be doing tier lists, and today's topic, of course, is going to be Cuphead bosses.
Considering that we went through an entire playthrough of it, I feel this is pretty fitting.
Yeah, so you'll see here we have a prepared tier list here. I've made 7 tiers for us because I just kind of feel that's the best way to organize my thoughts here. So you have like C as like kind of the midline, anything is like a little bit good or a little bit bad. You got great, and then you got like just perfect. I feel like having like a good middle point and working off from there.
I am totally fine with this, honestly. I like this. I like this system. So yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right. So I want to be a kind host and basically I want to reflect the opinion of my guests. So I am here certainly to help facilitate, to give 2 cents, but as the guest, Oscar, you are going to have final say on the rankings. If you want to put Grim Matchstick or Rumor Honeybottom or whoever you want at peak, there is nothing I can really do about it except silently judge you.
Oh goodness, the power that I currently have in my possession now is palpable, so let's see if I choose to abuse that somewhere down the line.
Alright, so we're gonna start with our we're here on Inkwell Island 1. Very simple start. I decided to give us the first boss we fought, and one who did not kill us at all in our Let's Play, Goopy Legrand.
So, yeah, Goopy Legrand, perfectly suitable boss fight. Like, he's nothing too fancy, nothing too difficult, nothing too crazy, but he does exactly the job that he needs to do. Like, he is one of the first bosses you're going to fight, likely the first boss you're going to fight, and I think he serves his purpose perfectly well, honestly.
It helps you get used to the controls.
Yeah, like, it's honestly between him and the next boss we're going to talk about, and if I'm gonna be honest with you, I feel like he does the first boss job better than the vegetables do. So
yeah.
Personally, this is gonna sound a bit like crazy of me, but I think he actually goes in A tier.
A tier, really?
Yes. Like, again, he's not a great boss. Okay, I'm putting him at great,
yeah.
But he's not like the greatest boss like in this roster. But for what he does it near perfectly.
Okay, now Goopy has the distinction, I think, for Cuphead bosses where he's one of the only characters where, like, it feels like as a boss, there's only ever one thing coming at you at a time, which I don't think is true of any of them except part of the root pack.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we want to put him up in A tier for now, I'm warning you, it might get a little crowded up here.
Yeah, probably, but we'll see how that pans out.
Now, obviously, this doesn't necessarily have to be the hardest. This doesn't necessarily have to be. I mean, this is based on your subjective opinion of what is best. We're going off vibes here.
Yeah, subjective is what I think my opinion is, of course.
Because yeah. So using that as a tent post here, let's move on to the root pack.
Root pack, honestly, I'm probably gonna go for B on this one because they do a lot of the same things that Goopy Legrand do, but personally, I feel like Goopy does it just a tad better. That said, the root pack is probably the easiest boss in the entire game, but still a good one. Like, nothing crazy, nothing fancy. They got 3 different forms. I will give it credit for having that secret phase that you can do with the onion.
Yeah.
And the root, also it's their boss fight. What was it called? Botanic Panic. Also one of the better themes in this game. Still, I'm perfectly fine putting them in B tier for now.
I think maybe, the Root Pack maybe gives a better idea as an intro boss of what Cuphead bosses are going to be like. But I think because they don't take up as much as the screen as Goopy does, maybe they're easier to get a handle on.
That's fair. Like, I will admit, like, I'm looking at it now, and maybe Goopy more deserves to be in B tier, but I don't know. There's a simple brilliance to Goopy that I feel hasn't deserved A tier, whereas the Root Pack, I'm fine putting him in B.
Hey, we can get through this whole list and not put anybody ever below C. Like, that's allowed.
That is viable, but however, I will say I'm pretty sure I can think of at least a couple of bosses on this roster that do deserve at least a meh.
Okay, well, hopefully you don't think that about Kagny Carnation, because he's
S tier.
He's probably one of the most popular bosses, at least out of the intro group.
Kagny Carnation is easily S tier peak in my opinion. Again, whereas Goopy Legrand and the Root Pack serve a really, really good function of first boss, Kagny Carnation, I feel, does an excellent job of being a gatekeeper boss. When you get to him and you beat him, you pretty much have already proven that you have all the skills you need in order to beat the rest of Cuphead. It's just a matter of refining those skills. I honestly think Kagny Carnation delivers pretty much everything you could expect out of an early game boss.
Yeah, I really like how his battlefield kind of takes advantage of there's like an under area and up on the platforms, and you kind of have to learn when each is safe.
And this was probably the obvious one. Floral Fury, easily one of the best tracks in the entire game, so much so that it got a spot in Smash Brothers, and that's definitely saying something.
Yeah. Also that meme that everybody uses of like Happy Flower and then Angry Flower.
Yeah. No, Kagny Carnation is filled to the brim with like possibilities in terms of like meme culture and like just how popular he is with the zeitgeist, and there's a good reason for that. So yeah, I say he's peak boss fight in this game.
Well, we're off to a pretty good start, and we're gonna move over to the blatant Street Fighter reference of the game, Rivian Croakkes.
Rivian Croakkes, I'm going to admit, don't impress me as much as the other bosses. Like, they are a good fight, don't get me wrong. But what kind of kills it for me is they are one of the more forgettable bosses from the early island, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, Street Fighter references aside, I don't think they're as visually impressive. And I know all of the bosses kind of turn into fantastical things, but the slot machine never particularly, like, made sense thematically for me. It's a cool sequence, it's just like, I'm not like, oh man, this boss is, like, such a cool through line.
Yeah, like, not to mention, like, there's a lot of, like, downtime with the slot machine, because you're kind of just waiting for him to, like, bring down the lever. Meanwhile, the one thing that he does during that segment is he shoots a coin out at you. And I'm gonna be real with you, the Street Fighter reference was completely lost on me, until someone pointed it out. It's like, oh, they're supposed to be Ken and Ryu. Went completely over my head.
Yeah, they do, like, show some restraint in that reference, I'd say.
And Clip Joint Calamity, the theme that plays during them, is memorable, but not necessarily one of the better themes in this game. Honestly, this is probably... I don't want to call it meh, because it's still good. It's fine.
Yeah.
I would say that these guys
Is that a C
firmly
tier?
land in C tier.
All right. Last in Inkwell Island 1, we have Hilderberg.
So Hilderberg is your introduction to the plane segments, and I feel she does a good job of that. The main thing with her is that she's also, I believe, one of the few bosses in this game with a random element, because anytime she transforms, it all depends on the constellation that appears, so no matter how many times you repeat this boss, it's not going to always play out the same way.
I'd say there's a few others with a random element, like the next one coming up, Baroness Bon Bon also like has like random with which candy minions come out to fight you and stuff, but yeah, definitely you don't know what Zodiac forms you're gonna get from fight to fight.
And overall, Hildeberg's like Hilderberg also impressed me in this game in terms of just how much the developers were willing to push the animation. Like, again, she has, like, some of the better animations in the game with, like, her wigging out when she's about to transform, and then the moon transformation during the final phase, fantastic.
Yeah, crazy clockwork moon.
Yeah, so, honestly, I would say she lands firmly in great, if I'm being honest with you. A great introduction to the plane segment, and overall, I think it pushes a lot of what Cuphead really, really wants to do with the crazy cartoon logic animation type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say A tier.
So then we talk to King Dice. We turn in our contracts, and we end up in Inkwell Island 2 with Baroness Bon Bon.
So Baroness Bon Bon is the classic example of a like a mini boss rush type boss until you actually have to fight her herself, which I guess you could say kind of makes, fits the Root Pack a little bit as well, but not quite. The Root Pack feel more like a team than anything else.
Well, and the Root Pack is consistent. Like, unless you get the secret phase, it's always, you gotta do potato, then onion, then carrot. Mm-hmm. And you don't know what you're gonna get with Bon Bon. There's, like, 5 different minions that can come
like,
out.
what? There's a cupcake, there's a waffle, there's a jawbreaker, and so on and so forth. There's a lot going on.
There's a gumball machine that, skitters around.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with, Baroness Bon Bon. I will say, though, I think it gets a little too crazy at times. It's not a bad fight, don't get me wrong, but it can be a slight little spike, which I guess makes sense because you're entering the second island of the game. So, yeah, and all in all, I really do like the theming. I like the fact that she's basically this, like, candy queen of Sugarland, and like all of her attacks are all like sweets based. So the theming works, and the fight overall is good. Honestly, I'm probably gonna go with good on this one. Like there's a little bit too much going on that keeps me from calling her a great fight.
Did you ever get the references to Marie Antoinette?
Oh, yeah, the whole thing where she, like, slices her head off and she's, like, constantly throwing at you like a projectile.
And she's, let them eat cake.
Okay. You know what? Now that you mention...
Which Marie Antoinette never actually said. That comes from an autobiography from Jean-Jacques Rousseau, I think, which... Mm-hmm. Yeah, when he tells that story, Marie Antoinette would have been, like, 10 years old, but...
Yeah.
That phrase is constantly ascribed to Marie Antoinette.
Yeah, which, now that you mention that, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Just a funny little thing. Mm-hmm. Speaking of funny little, like, secrets and stuff, I just learned one about Jimmy the Great recently. Did you know about the thing... where if you spin around on the map screen, he can appear to you and, like, give you a cheat. He's like the game Jimmy, like the game genie.
Oh!
Yeah, so there's a secret. He can only do it 3 times per save file, but he'll, like, double your HP for the next fight you do.
I did not know that, no.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, crazy little secret thing.
Well, how about that?
But yeah, we're talking about the boss fight for Jimmy the Great.
Which, honestly, like, I can consider, like, looking at those extra little things about certain bosses, and, like, that can raise your opinion of them, but, like, which is fine for Jimmy the Great, because, personally, I think he's a fantastic fight. The fact that you told me about that little model at the center was actually a model that they made and they filmed it, and you see that just rotating and spinning, like, in the background. Super cool. That one blew my mind. I was like, oh my god, they actually did that? How far did these developers go?
Yeah.
And Jimmy has an amazing array of attacks that he throws at you during the playing segments. I like the fact that there's also that, like, he's also one of the bosses that has that little Easter egg, or, like, that secret phase where if you're shrunk, when he scans you with his mind, he'll spawn a tiny version of the Cuphead puppet, which I always found funny. Other than that, no, Jimmy has a really, really good presentation, a really, really good challenging fight, and I feel like he pushes the capabilities of the plane segments about as well as Hilderberg does. Honestly, I say A tier for Jimmy.
All right. A tier for Jimmy.
Very, very close to S tier, but I think there are a couple of other bosses in this game that I feel deserve S tier more than he does. but we'll get to those.
Okay, and a bit of a controversial one here. Bey the Clown.
Yeah, Bey the Clown annoys me, so... You and I went through that fight, and both of us were pretty much annoyed by the end.
Yeah, here's my thing with Bey. This isn't exclusive to him, but it was the first boss to make me think, like, I was in a situation where I could not avoid damage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if his different attack patterns just go at the right frequency, and, like, you're not thinking 4 steps ahead like a chess master, like... You could have horseshoes coming at you and the rail car coming from the bottom where there's just nowhere for you to go.
Yeah, which is extra, like, jerkish, if you ask me, because the first phase is, for all intents and purposes, probably one of the easiest first phases in the entire game. He's just, like, roaming around on one side with the roller coaster cart, and it's like, it seems tricky at first, but you soon realize that if you stay on one side of the stage and wait for him to charge at you and keep an eye on the ducks, like, that's not hard at all.
The bumper cart is so easy, it kind of pisses me off, because I always expect it to charge faster, and it kind of, like, herks and jerks before it goes.
Exactly, and the smoke bomb, like, makes that whole spiel trivial. But then comes in, like, the bullet hell and him, like, riding on the horse and the horseshoes and the carts and, like, and the roller coasters. It becomes chaos, even more chaos when he becomes that big, like, big top, like, thing. And, like, suddenly you're dealing with baseballs and, like, more roller coasters. Bey was an example of a boss fight that started going into the realm of a bit unfair. And aside from that, the fight just isn't all that interesting.
Yeah.
So... this might be our first E-tier boss, honestly.
Wow, E-tier, really?
Yeah, like, I wouldn't even call it meh, because, like, the thing is, like, meh would be just a boss where I'm like, okay, this is okay, but it's like, whatever. Bey is one of the few bosses in this game that actually legitimately kind of annoyed me.
Harsh, but I understand it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's not Garbo, but I would not necessarily... I can't really say he's a good boss fight. Not really.
We got another flying boss here. We got, Wally Warbles.
So, Wally Warbles is... I don't think he quite matches the excitement of the plane segments as much as Hilderberg and Jimmy do, but he's still good, if you ask me. Like, more than anything, though, he's also just fun. Like, he has a lot of, like, those, like, standard attacks where, like, he shoots eggs at you, a lot of projectiles, the classic shooting the feathers. Yeah, no, like, I remember you mentioned that, like, it was the classic spreading projectiles in all directions, but really it's a really simple pattern.
You really just have to go up, down, up, down.
Exactly. Other than that, though, like, the theming with Wally Warbles is fun. The fight itself is pretty well paced. Like, his attacks are, like, good and very, like, well spread out, while also not feeling totally unfair. That said, like, compared to everything else that we've been dealing with so far, he just felt a little bit standard. I would put him in the realm of B tier.
Okay.
Because, again, not as good as Jimmy, not as good as Hilderberg in my opinion, but still good. And, well, I'm just gonna say it right now, what was the theme? Aviary Action? Fantastic. One of the best themes in the game.
Oh yeah, that's where it's got like Ride of the Valkyries.
Oh yeah,
mixed in there. And...
yeah, no, one of the better themes in the game, if you ask me.
Well, finishing up Inkwell Island 2, we have Grim Matchstick.
This boss is divisive from what I'm to understand, because he is tough.
Now, I said that I said at the beginning that, like, if you want to put him at top tier, I can't stop you. I really don't have a problem with Grim Matchstick. I actually kind of like him.
I was actually going to get to that. Like, Grim Matchstick is hard. However, in the general zeitgeist and the general public of, like, Cuphead fans, I haven't really heard anyone complain about him. He's hard. He is, like, probably one of the bigger, like, difficulty spikes in the game, but it never felt oppressive or unfair or frustrating. He was still a good fight.
He's one of the few bosses that punishes you for holding the fire button down, because he's got those fireballs in the last phase that, like, burst if you shoot them.
Yeah, so, like, he's like one of those... He's one of the bosses that, like, actually, like, teaches you to be like, oh, hey, sometimes you gotta be a little conservative with how you use your weapons or your gun. And I also feel like he's one of the bosses that generally facilitates you try different weapons, whether it's the chaser, to like keep track of him while like focusing on the platforming, which is whether it's a charge shot so that you can like better like plan your attack, or the lobber, because like that one has a general good DPS while still making you think about where to aim your shots.
I think it's interesting because like the first two phases are pretty chaotic, but yeah, with the third phase, I think what you really need to do is just kind of like calm down and like look at what's going on and take it slow.
And yeah, generally like Grim Matchstick is like a really, really cool classic representation of like, yeah, he's obviously one of those like big cartoon dragons, like big fat western cartoon dragons and whatnot, but he does the role really well. Like the first phase is your classic fire breather, the second phase gets creative with him like swallowing those like fire soldiers and like you trying to like manage what's going on there. And then you got the three-headed Hydra phase with the storm in the background, reminiscent of like Mega Man, which is super cool.
I like the funny faces the three heads make when they first pop out.
I'm gonna be real, Grim Matchstick might be S tier.
He's my personal S tier.
Yeah, because like again, he's hard. He's really hard, but I think he's rightfully hard because he's about halfway through the game. And that's when you gotta figure out how to generally handle all this like BS that the game is throwing at you. And Grim Matchstick is a kind of in the same realm of Kagny Carnation. He's a gatekeeper boss where it's like where Kagny Carnation like is the gatekeeper for whether you're going to enjoy the game. Grim Matchstick is the gatekeeper of, are you ready for the end game?
Yeah, are you gonna be able to finish this game?
I would say that is an accurate statement. Grim Matchstick is a great fight.
Well, fittingly, we're already about halfway through the list. Well, not really, but we're through the first two Inkwell Islands, and with that, I want to introduce here in our pilot episode our first intermission.
Oh god.
So I've learned from watching some some similar shows, that in a long-form conversation or a long-form analysis like this, it's good to have kind of like a pace breaker to kind of take a moment to take your mind away from the exact thing you're thinking of, kind of stretch your cerebral legs, as it were.
A little bit of a mental reset type of thing.
Yeah, so we're going to play a little game here.
Oh god.
Oscar, as long as I've known you, you've really liked cartoons.
Yes.
And you've really liked a lot of classic cartoons. We've talked a lot about Looney Tunes and stuff like that.
Yes.
So, with Cuphead being so much about 1930s cartoons and that golden age of animation, I'm reminded especially of Warner Brothers and of Disney, both of their old cartoons, them being kind of the two juggernauts of the era. And both very famously had ducks that were headlining their cartoons.
Yes.
So we're gonna play a little game here. We're gonna play Daffy or Donald.
Oh my god, what is going on here?
So, Oscar, I've curated for you some fun facts about cartoon ducks, and what I need you to do is tell me if the duck I'm describing is Warner Brothers' Daffy Duck or Walt Disney's Donald Duck.
Oh, this is gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm down. Let's see what we got here.
Alright, let me clear this up a little bit. Okay, are you ready?
Yes. Sure.
Okay, question number 1. In 1996, this duck played in a high-stakes basketball game for the fate of his world.
Okay, this one, I believe, is pretty easy. That would be Daffy Duck.
That would, in fact, be Daffy Duck in the movie Space Jam with Michael Jordan.
Very funny. Yep.
Alright.
That movie was something.
So, yeah, I think you got the idea.
Yeah.
On a similar sort of note, question 2. In 2002, this duck served as a court wizard to assist his king in the battle against the forces of darkness.
Oh, freaking, Donald. That's Kingdom Hearts Donald, right?
That is, in fact,
yeah.
Kingdom Hearts, 2002 being when the first game released.
I had to remember when the first Kingdom Hearts came out. That was 2020. That was 2002. Jesus.
Yeah, that was 23 years ago, my friend.
Christ. Okay, well, enough making me feel old.
Yeah. Well, let me try and fix that with something even older here. Question 3. In 1943, quite a bit older. In 1943, this duck found himself forced to work in a weapons assembly line and constantly show his devotion to Adolf Hitler under fear of death. Luckily, this turned out to be just a nightmare.
Okay, knowing my history of cartoons, Warner Brothers was not afraid to get into those topics, so this, I'm assuming, is Daffy Duck.
Alright, so Daffy Duck had to work for Adolf Hitler?
Yes.
I am so sorry.
Whoa!
That is Donald Duck in De Fuhrer's Face, which was a 1943 piece of military propaganda by the Walt Disney Company.
Holy crap. Yeah, because, like, I also remember some cartoons, like, from Warner Brothers also, like, delving into those topics, so I assumed it might have been Daffy.
Yeah, Looney Tunes definitely also had its fair share of American war propaganda to, like, trying to get us involved in World War II more.
Yeah, that was a time. Wow.
This is a wild scene. So the point is that every time he sees the picture of Hitler, it's like the rule that he has to Heil.
Yeah.
And he's doing an assembly line of, like, screwing in bullets, but then pictures of Hitler are also on the assembly line.
So he's trying to... He has to screw in the bullets, but he can't because his hand's up.
Yeah, it is a wild cartoon. I suggest looking it up.
I just might when I get back home tonight. Wow, that's crazy.
Well, you are 2 for 3 here.
Alright.
Question 4. In 1937, this duck survived being hunted and held at gunpoint. The hunter in question would become his best friend in the years to come.
That would be Daffy Duck, I believe.
That would, of course, be Daffy Duck in his first appearance, Porky's Duck Hunt.
Which I believe also was referenced later on, kinda, sorta, because in a later cartoon, Daffy was also hunted by Porky when Porky thought that Daffy was a turkey.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember that one.
It was either Porky or someone else, but like I remember this scenario has played out at least once or twice.
Yeah.
Throughout the history of Warner Brothers.
Yeah, that was the first appearance of Daffy. It might have been the first appearance of Porky, actually. Don't quote me on that.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, you're 3 for 4 so far.
Alright.
Question 5. In 1934, this duck, along with his porcine best friend, faked a series of stomach aches to get out of doing chores for his neighbor.
Oh, God. Ah, dang it. Okay, so... I want to say this is Daffy, because I also remember there were a couple of instances where he did that. But it might have been Donald. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Daffy on this one.
Unfortunately, that is Donald in his first appearance, The Wise Little Hen.
Gosh darn.
1934.
So they both had porcine best friends.
Yeah, I don't know what this pig's name was, but I think he basically appeared in this cartoon and nothing else.
Mm-hmm. So the reason I thought it might have been the other is because there was a series of, like, cartoons where Porky and Donald, not Donald, Porky and Daffy were, like, work colleagues.
Yeah.
And they've had several instances where they've had trouble in the workplace because of their antics.
It's usually, like, Porky's the more responsible one, too, and Daffy's trying to...
trying to get out of it because he's lazy or just doesn't want to deal with any of this.
This was sort of meant as a trick question with him having a pig for a best friend.
Yeah, no, I could believe it would have been either one.
I was trying to pull the wool over your eyes here.
No sheep in this situation, unfortunately.
Nope, only ducks. Question 6. In 1939, this duck commanded an army post on the American frontier against an indigenous tribe.
Oh, God.
He defeated them when he accidentally swallowed several cases of ammunition and became a makeshift machine gun.
This sounds like Daffy. This has to be Daffy.
Oscar, this is in fact Daffy Duck.
I thought so, yup. Yeah, no... Looney Tunes has that constant habit of turning the characters into some sort of makeshift weapon. Like, that happens way more than you might expect.
Yeah, I mean, Donald having a nightmare about Nazi Germany is crazy, but I don't think even at their worst Disney would have their classic characters, like, killing people.
Did you think that this is where Banjo and Kazooie got it from?
Oh man, they are kind of doing Banjo and Kazooie here.
Oh man, I think I might have just blown your mind on that one.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to have, like, the weird cultural artifact for each of them, so this and De Fuhrer's Face.
There you go.
Our last question of this intermission. In 1988, This duck got into a violent battle at a nightclub while performing Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2 on the piano.
This, I actually think I've seen this. I believe this was Donald.
Alright, is that your final answer?
This is my final answer.
Oscar? This is a trick question. It was both of them. In Who Framed Roger Rabbit, 1988.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay, I'll give you that one. That was pretty... Oh, man, it's been too long since I've watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Wow.
Well, Oscar, thank you so much for playing Daffy and Donald.
That was fun.
Are you ready to get back to the tier list?
All right, let's do this.
Thank you for indulging me while I embarrass you with stupid trivia.
Oh, no, you embarrassed me. I learned something today, man. That was fun.
You did pretty good.
Thank you.
You did. I think that was 4 out of 7.
I like to think I at least have some average knowledge of cartoon history.
So if we move to Inkwell Island 3 here, we have another character I often see listed as, like, the most frustrating to people. Rumor Honeybottoms.
So it's weird because I share in that frustration when fighting River Honeybottoms until I played it with you, because we actually got through this fight pretty handily, if I'm being honest with you.
I'd say you got through this fight pretty handily.
Okay, fair.
This is the fight I remember as the one I've never fought Phase 3.
That's right.
Because I died in Phase 2, and that was the run you beat the rest of the fight.
Mm-hmm. I guess it's because, like, Rumor Honeybottoms is one of those bosses, much like a lot of the bosses, but Rumor especially, where after you beat it the first time, when you go back to it a second time, it just feels easier because by that point you kind of know what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think she's a little bit overhated.
Mm-hmm. Still, like, despite the fact that she is generally, like, a pretty good fight, like, overall, I can understand the frustration. She is still tough, especially because of just how much is going on during the fight. It is a visually stunning fight, I will say that. But... nah, like, compared to some of the other bosses that I see on this list, she can be a little bit oppressive while also maybe not having as much as you would expect from someone from Inkwell Isle 3. Honestly, I think she's fine, personally.
Alright, we'll put her in the fine with Rivian Croakkes.
Yeah, C tier I think is fine, suitable for Rumor Honeybottoms. Again, she's a good fight, but I can understand people's frustration with her.
I think now is where I'll mention. So there are kind of some exclusions from the bosses here. I did not include, obviously, any of the run and gun stages because those aren't bosses. Mm-hmm. You'll also see none of the King's Gambit, the King's Challenge, the chess pieces are here, because I kind of think of them all as, like, mini bosses.
Yeah, they have their own, like, gimmicks and their own, like, set place in the realm of Cuphead, where I don't really feel like they fit within the grand roster of bosses.
Yeah, and the same with King Dice. There's, like, a whole bunch of mini bosses in that, but I feel like the point of that as a boss fight is for it to be a boss gauntlet.
Yes.
Yeah, just wanted to get that out of the way. But next we have one of my favorite names to say, Werner Vermin.
Yup, so Werner Vermin... I don't have a good opinion of this mouse.
Oh, really?
Not really, no. Again, like, it's one of those things where it's like, I also found Werner to be a little bit divisive among the general Cuphead zeitgeist, in that he can be a little bit frustrating, but he also ends up probably potentially being one of the easiest bosses in this stage of the game. And I think it goes twofold, because Werner Vermin's general attack pattern and, like, boss fight is not that complicated. The problem is that his fight feels claustrophobic.
It is very tight, especially when those, like, bottle caps come in at the end.
Mm-hmm. And, like, there's a lot going on with Werner's fight in such a small space, or at least it feels like a small space, that I love the theming behind it. I really like Werner basically commanding a, like, can mech, and eventually a mech cat,
yeah,
which is pretty funny. But
I like the reveal of the cat coming in, and then the reveal of it being a robot.
But again, like, I don't know, Werner just seems a little bit contrived compared to some of the other bosses that you see in this same island.
Okay.
Is
that a meh for you?
That is a meh, honestly. Like, he's not a bad fighter.
It sounds like you don't think he's bad.
He's not bad. He's just a little bit... I can't really explain him other than just... Like, he doesn't impress me, but I can't really call him bad.
I mean, I'm a little surprised. I'm definitely pro Vermin, but... Yeah, I don't have, like, a great defense for him either. Like, that's one where we died to him a lot of times, but it's clear from rewatching that episode we are just, like, not locked in during that fight.
Yeah, no, like, we were pretty focused on, like, commentating and...
Yeah, we're, like, warming up for the day.
Yeah, and I think that might have been a contribution to, how much trouble we were having with Werner during the fight itself. But when you lock in on Vermin, he kind of does become one of the easiest fights in the game, which is saying a lot considering that, like, this is Inkwell 3 and you'd think that the game would stop pulling its punches. I don't know, Werner just doesn't seem to live up to the expectations, if you ask me.
That's fair. Well, in comparison then, I see a lot more positive reaction about, is it Captain Briny Beard?
Yes, Briny Beard.
Briny Beard. Bluto from Popeye.
Basically, the references to Bluto are not lost on me with him. But, no, Briny Beard overall is, like, a generally acceptable boss fight, in my opinion. My issue with him mainly is that he's a little bit forgettable, because I'm gonna be honest with you, like, when we fought him again, during our playthrough, I had to remind myself of everything that he did, because I completely forgot about the barrel that's just hovering over your head. I forgot that his ship basically becomes a giant whale. I forgot that you have to attack the uvula inside of his mouth and he shoots a giant beam.
He's got a lot of garbage.
He really does, and, like, the shark dogs and, like, the ink from the squids and the shotgun that he has. There's a lot going on with Briny Beard.
I'll tell you something funny. When I was preparing to run this today, I discovered from reading the wiki, there is no faster descent into madness than just hearing an explanation of these bosses' attacks just, like, explained to you in words. Where it's like, he summons a submarine that looks around, then releases a bulldog fish hybrid that crawls onto the pier. Why does it need a submarine? It's a fish.
Cuphead ASMR, people. But yeah, like, there's a lot going on with Briny Beard that amounts to a very chaotic boss, but unfortunately not a very memorable one.
I think Briny Beard's one where it doesn't feel like one cohesive fight, it feels like a whole bunch of bullshit.
Kind of, honestly. But the thing is, like, it's still...
I still like it.
It still manages to be a pretty decent boss fight overall. He's not bad by any stretch, just maybe a little bit... trying a little too hard?
So does decent mean fine?
I would say fine. Yeah, I would say Briny Beard, like, lands firmly in C tier. Like, he's trying a little too hard, but he still manages to pass, if you ask me.
Yeah. Just remember, there are only 3 constants in life. Death, taxes, and the barrel in Captain Briny Beard's fight. It never goes away.
You are going to get hit by that thing at least once the first time you fight Briny Beard. That's for certain.
He gets to his final phase, the ship has become like a weird laser-spitting narwhal, and the barrel is still up there.
Yeah, no, that thing is never going to go away.
Okay, very popular one, Cala Maria.
Cala Maria is popular for reasons, and popular for reasons. I'm not going to skirt away from that one. Yeah. We all know.
Naval, yeah.
But at the same time, like, she still manages to be a fantastic fight. First of all, I love the theming. I like the fact that she is a combination of mermaid and gorgon of all things. That kind of took me by surprise.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say is that she kind of shares in Briny Beard's chaoticness.
Yeah,
because
of being a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, the fight has a lot going on between the eels and the swords and the ghosts that she, like, summons,
the
and
seahorse,
the petrification that's going on apparently. But I don't know, call me crazy, it feels like it fits all together with Cala Maria better than it does Briny Beard.
Yeah, that definitely does all kind of connect into one fight better for me.
Mm-hmm. It does help that it's also a plane fight, so you're really just focusing on, like, moving and shooting, which I feel might contribute to the fight feeling a little more cohesive.
Yeah. I mean, luckily, I don't care about going for no-hit runs, so I don't care about the whole petrification thing sometimes being, like an unfair hit.
Mm-hmm. And, like, that's just a fun curveball to throw at you.
Yeah.
Because, again, you don't expect this, like, octopus-haired mermaid to suddenly become a Medusa, and frankly, I love it. I think it's a great direction for the fight to take, especially the third phase.
One of the cooler transformations of a character, I think.
I completely agree. In terms of a tier, I would say Cala Maria lands solidly in A tier. Again, not a peak S-rank tier, if you ask me, because I think there's just a little bit too much bullshit going on. But it's good bullshit, so yeah. I'm willing to put her in A.
If it weren't for the ghosts, I hate how the ghost swords chase you, and that I never got the hang of that.
See, but again, like, it doesn't really, like, the ghost swords wouldn't become a problem if you weren't also worried about the floating pufferfish and the seahorse, like, constantly pushing you up with the water spout.
I really like the seahorse just because when it appears, it goes, "Nay!"
It is a really fun, like, he looks like a fun dude. I bet he and Cala Maria hang out every now and again.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna try not to be biased. Sally stage play.
Sally stage play's theming is fantastic. Like, you are being treated to a boss fight that tells a story.
Yeah.
And a very funny story.
I mean, this is like
context.
This is like my personal like hyperfixation being made into a boss fight, but yeah, one of my favorites in the whole game.
My biggest issue is because, like, again, I love the theming, I love the design, I love just the general humor of Sally stage play's whole boss fight as a whole. It's so easy.
Yeah.
She is bar none, like, within the realm of Vermin, in terms of, like, one of the easiest boss fights in the game for how far you are in Cuphead. You meet this girl in Inkwell Isle 3, and she's kind of a pushover.
Yeah, Vermin took us like 9 shots. We beat Sally on our 3rd.
And yet I also feel like Sally's stage play deserves to be up there a little bit more, if only because of the theming. Again, I feel like this is a situation where they sacrifice the difficulty just to present something nice.
Yeah.
And they did. And the references are not lost on me. That when you told me that the Angel phase was a Kefka reference, I was like, oh my god, you're right.
Yeah, and have you seen the like alternate path?
Dude, the secret that you can get with her, like when she dies, is so funny.
You can, if you like knock down the sandbags in the first phase, her co-star, the one playing her husband, gets hit by a falling sandbag.
That's right, it was her husband that dies, not her.
Yeah, so instead of like going back to the home or whatever, she like the story becomes her going to a convent.
Yes.
And then he comes back as like a Bacchus god alongside her in the last phase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, a lot of the themings and a lot of the direction with Sally's stage play, again, they were directing a stage. They were directing a play. They were directing a show with Sally's stage play. I just wish the fight matched where you... If Sally's stage play was, like, in Inkwell 2, or, like, maybe during the later stages of Inkwell 1, that would be something. The fact that you had to fight her in Inkwell 3 so later in the game, and she kind of just hits you with one of the easiest fights, unfortunately dims it down for me.
And I'm getting that is important for this tier list here, otherwise Goopy wouldn't be hanging out in A tier.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a perfect Inkwell 1 boss.
Exactly, and I feel like Sally would have been like a great either late Inkwell 1 or early Inkwell 2 fight, but for where she is, I can't justify putting her any higher than B tier.
I will take B tier. I will take that and run with it.
Yeah, again, like, she's a great fight in terms of, like, design, theming, and direction. I just wish she gave us a little more.
Now we have the absolute king of throwing bullshit onto the screen.
Oh.
We have Dr. Call's robot.
Oh my god, this fight is frustration. This fight is, like, Cuphead Ghost Central with how much he throws at you. So, yeah. Again, I love the design, and I love the theme for Dr. Call's robot, too. Like, the song that plays is really, really cool, high octane. The fight is chaos.
So my thing with Dr. Call's robot, I really like the gimmick of how he's got 3 weapons, and you have to destroy all 3 of them, but when you destroy one, it becomes a different kind of more powerful weapon.
Yeah.
So you kind of decide which order to introduce these harder attack patterns into the fight, and that's really cool, but then that's only the first third of the fight, and you're already worn out about that, and there's still a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, no, the first phase of Dr. Call's robot, it's like, I remember you mentioned something during the playthrough, where a lot of the times when you do a 3-phase fight, it's pretty customary to make the second phase the hardest, because that way, after you defeat the second phase, the third phase becomes a little bit easier, but it's like the second hardest of the phases in the fight, because you're like tired after that second phase, but now the game is like the boss fight is trying to like ease you down, maybe just like slow down a little bit, but still testing you, testing your exhausted brain, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Call's robot is the complete opposite. It throws everything at you right from the word go, and once you go through past that first phase, you go into the easiest phase, which is like the flying ahead.
Yeah.
And then you go into an absolute bullet hell with the second phase, with the third phase, and it's like, okay, can you just die already, Dr. Call, because this is getting a little ridiculous.
And that's like his like normal like Dr. Call body you're shooting at. Like, why does that have as much health as the whole robot?
Yeah, unlike a later fight where we get a body that's like so tiny that it only takes a few hits to kill, as opposed to Dr. Call, which is like a completely third phase. I feel like if this boss like had a little better direction in regards to how it's balanced, I actually can't believe I'm talking about balance in Cuphead.
Yeah.
I don't know, the fight feels a little bit unbalanced for what it does. At the same time though, it's still a good fight, but it is frustration central. I feel I gotta go in meh on this one.
Oh, he's getting a meh.
He's getting a meh. Again, I like the theming, I like the idea and everything, but he just throws a little too much at you.
You pissed us off too much, Call.
A little bit. It's not like again, you want to see another, we saw another like difficulty spike boss fight earlier with Grim Matchstick, but with Grim Matchstick, it felt fair and fun. Dr. Call's robot felt frustrating, unfortunately.
Yeah, I feel like Cala Maria is sort of like that fight in terms of difficulty in a more like balanced way.
I can agree with that, yes.
Alright, last in Inkwell Island 3, we have the Phantom Express.
Oh man, Phantom Express was fun, dude! This was a great one because, I remember we were experiencing this during the playthrough, but the Phantom Express, I feel, is a great example of what this game can do when you have co-op active. Because it's one thing to play through this entire game solo, which you can absolutely do.
Yeah.
But the Phantom Express, I feel like, has the greatest example of just how far and just how much fun this game is when you have someone playing with you.
This is the fight that, like, I remember especially for playing it co-op and us, like, having to coordinate moving the cart back and forth.
Which I felt was a great gimmick. And yeah, no, it's one of the few bosses where it does actually feel like it's easier with a partner like assisting you, because again, the other bosses is like, okay, in general it's like, oh, you're adding DPS, you gotta like keep track of each other, try to like keep each other alive and everything, and generally things are easier, but the Phantom Express kind of exemplified that whole idea of teamwork, not just in adding DPS and keeping each other alive, but also managing tasks, managing projectiles, keeping the cart like where you want it to be, and like communicating and everything. And overall, the boss fight is just very well designed.
Yeah.
Like, it's not super, super crazy difficult, but it's still a challenge if you don't know what you're doing. And it's a definitely great example of you learn as you go, and the more you fail, the better you get type of thing, because you learn the patterns. He has a pretty consistent, like, attack pattern overall that's like just a little bit difficult to manage because of how much is going on, but it never feels unfair.
Yeah, he's also very fair.
S tier, frankly.
I'm glad you said that, because I agree.
Yeah, no, like Phantom Express, like easily up there is one of the best in the Cuphead roster, in my opinion.
Alright, we got the big man, well, the second big man, King Dice, Mr. King Dice. So here we are considering the entire boss gauntlet, with, the fact that you have to fight all those different mini-bosses leading up to it.
I'm gonna be real, I'm not sure how to feel about King Dice in terms of, like, ranking him in this tier list, mainly because he's just unlike any of the other bosses in this roster, because of the fact that he's a gauntlet.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that, like, there is that gimmick with the board where you have to, like, control the dice, and it does feel fair, because it's like, if it was one thing where you had to go through this entire gauntlet with only 3 hearts, that would be one thing. That would be complete and utter bullshit. But
you can get hearts from the board.
Yeah, like, he gives you an opportunity to heal, which is unlike any of the other bosses in the game.
Yeah.
And generally, you can control what's going on if you know how to time the dice rolls. From there, it's just a matter of learning the different bosses, learning the different patterns, which, in the grand scheme of things, they are not hard. They're just tiring.
Yeah. I will say, the actual King Dice phase of the fight is kind of the opposite of Phantom Express, where I feel like it's really rough playing on co-op, because there's like half a second where after you parry something, nobody else can parry it for half a second, and since you need to be bouncing off the cards to survive that attack, it became like, well, one of us is gonna have to die.
Yeah, it became a situation of, like, can we defeat this guy, or can we pour on the damage fast enough before we're eventually overwhelmed and one of us is gonna go down and we're basically left solo. Other than that, like, all the other, like, mini bosses, the cigar, the turntable, the rabbit, the dominoes, and all that jazz, generally good fights. The one fight that I feel was a little bit problematic in terms of, like, cohesion was the monkey.
Yeah. It also didn't occur to me right away that we were supposed to be, like, trying to match cards.
Exactly. It doesn't exactly tell you. You kind of, like, you can spend a good amount of time just, like, trying to shoot the damn monkey.
Yeah, like, why isn't he dying? Yeah.
Without realizing that you're supposed to play match game, which, yeah, like, a little bit more of a prompt would have been nice on that one.
Yeah.
So, still, in the grand scheme of things, I feel like he's a really good penultimate boss. I feel, though, it could have been, driven a little better, but I understand what they were going for. I'm gonna go with good on this one. I would say B tier.
Let's call it B tier.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, King Dice. You may be the devil's #1 man, but you're the letter B in this situation, I'm afraid.
Nice. Well, speaking of the devil, the official final boss of the game, the devil himself.
I cannot feel like I can complain about difficulty with this guy, because he is the final boss. And as the final boss, he does his job really well.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he is ruthless.
And he's maybe a little unfair, but given where he is in the game, he is surprisingly close to being fair.
It's weird, because it's like, yeah, the fight does feel a bit frustrating and, like, really chaotic and a little unfair. But one, it's the final boss. Like, of course you're going to be tested in all your skills and all your limits. And two, it's the goddamn devil. It feels fair. It feels fair that he is unfair.
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense that he kind of cheats.
Yeah, just the lack of, like, real estate to stand on at the end.
Oh my god. And even that first phase where it's like, there's just so much going on, then
it's those little guys who run in from behind.
Yes.
Where you're always checking the corner.
Yeah,
like, oh man, where are they gonna come in? If
you were just dealing with him and his, like, trident and the projectiles, that's one thing, but having to constantly keep track of his minions just edges it over that barrier of, okay, this is starting to get a little bit bullshit.
Yeah.
Other than that, no, the devil is appropriately hard, and I'm willing to call him the hardest fight in this entire game, even more so than one we're gonna get to later. And I love him for it. I think he is a fantastic fight. S tier. I'm gonna be real with you.
I think he earns an S tier.
I think that, like, I do not want to, like, imagine the complications and the difficulty I'm going to deal with if I don't put the devil at S tier. As a final boss, I think he deserves it.
Well, we've made it through the game. We still have DLC, which is quite a great selection of bosses. Before we get to there, we are going to take our second and final intermission.
Hey, alright.
Oscar, we're going to play another little trivia game here, just to keep the blood flowing, to realign our mental chakras here. We're going to play a little game I devised called What's Up, Cup?
Huh?
Now, you may have noticed that the main cast here, of course, are mostly made up of people whose heads are containers for liquid. You know, you got Cuphead, Mugman, Miss Chalice, you got Elder Kettle, you even got the guy who gives us the plane, who is a canteen.
I didn't even realize he was a canteen. Holy crap.
Yeah. If you think about it, even Chef Saltpeter is like, he is like a like container.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Okay.
But Cuphead isn't the only video game to have cups and other containers of liquid, and using the latest in amateur Photoshop technology, we've imported some other glassware into a Cuphead art style. So I'm going to show you some totally original characters I made, and I want you to tell me what video game I've gotten their heads from.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let's see what we got here.
So we're going to be
What
testing...
have you done?
We're going to be testing your video game knowledge here. So you ready?
Yes.
Alright, so character number 1. What? What? He doesn't look good?
So is this Bottle Boy? Fairy Bottle Boy?
Yeah, that's about what I was thinking of calling him, but can you tell me what my inspiration was for this OC I've made?
Hi, Zelda.
This is
I gotta say,
Fairy Bottle Head, inspired by The Legend of Zelda.
Oh my good. Okay, I'm gonna try and guess the names of these guys now. Oh my lord, that's hilarious.
Alright, so I think you got the idea now.
Yep.
We're gonna keep with Cuphead as our model, our Adam here for our new species of cup-headed characters. Tell me about this guy.
So I think he's oh geez, I'm trying to.
Now the answer isn't his name. I need you to tell me the video game franchise that the container is from.
Yeah, I know, but I'm having way too much fun here. Nuka-Cola guy here is from Fallout.
That is absolutely correct. I actually like Nuka-Cola guy more than Nuka-Cola head. I gotta say that's a good workshop. I appreciate the feedback.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Number 3 here. See, what's great about this one is I didn't even have to move Cuphead's eyes onto it. This one came with eyes.
Yeah, it did. Hi, Sinisty Man from Pokemon.
This is Sinisty Head, inspired by
Actually,
Pokemon.
I do like Sinisty Head. Oh my god, that's amazing.
Do you like how I've also recolored his pants in each of these to
Nice
kind of
touch.
match them?
Nice touch.
Okay, so I'm using a Cuphead as a model a bit too much. Let's get some female representation here.
Oh my lord. Ambrosia Girl! Miss Ambrosia from Hades!
This is Miss Ambrosia, represented from Hades. I'm glad this is as fun for you to see as it was for me to make.
You're killing me here. Oh my god, this is amazing.
All right, you're 4 for 4, Oscar. You're killing it.
Thank you.
Perhaps at the expense of your own life. Can you tell me about this one here?
Is this Miss Cauldron from Banjo-Kazooie?
Yeah, so this the cauldron actually has a name. It's Dingpot. So this is Miss Dingpot.
Right.
Dingpot is Gruntilda's cauldron.
Right. Yep, I remember that.
And you use Dingpots to warp, and it's also how Gruntilda found out about 2D. And moving on to number 6.
I recognize that bottle, but I don't remember where it's from. This I might actually miss this one.
Oh, I might have stumped the Scorpion.
You might have, but I'm gonna take a wild guess. Is this Miss Elixir from Dragon Quest?
That is such a good guess, Oscar. I'm afraid this is Miss Drink of Gods from Kid Icarus.
Okay, dang it. Okay, well I was in the right direction at the very least, but gosh, I don't remember Kid Icarus. Gosh, darn it.
Yeah, these See, unlike Sally Stage Play, I do have difficulty scale into the later parts of my games. I got 2 more for you here. I feel really bad I've been using just Cuphead and Miss Chalice, but what about his pal Mugman? So I made a Mugman-based one here. Now, Oscar, I know this is difficult, but can you tell me what video game this is from? What popular franchise I'm referencing here?
He's a turny.
Oscar?
I'm kidding. Oh my.
Oscar, this is Gatto's Coffee Man from Ace Attorney.
Oh my god.
Hey, show some respect. He's a licensed prosecutor, all right?
Oh my god.
He passed the bar. Flew right over it.
Oh my god.
Holy crap. Oscar, I could not have dreamed of this good of a reaction.
I think I'm good. I'm good.
Oscar, you're 6 for 7 right now. Let's see if we can take it home with this last question. Can you tell me who this is? Popular game.
Why do I want to say Skyrim? It's not Skyrim though, is it? No, I'm gonna stick with Skyrim on this one, but I don't know. I'm gonna go with Skyrim on this one.
Funny thing, when I showed this to Allie, she guessed the same thing, but this is Elder Estus Flask.
Oh, from Dark. Okay, dang it. Okay, yep, you're right. It is the Estus Flask.
I mean, 6 out of 8 is pretty good. I'm especially impressed that you got this one. I really thought I was. I really thought I was getting one over on you there.
Over me like a mug on my head.
We're gonna need an intermission from this intermission. I've just been informed by my producers that if my contestant dies laughing, we are still liable. So that's gonna be the end of that intermission for a little while.
I have a headache. Wow. I cannot believe how much that sent me.
Oscar, do you think you can still survive long enough to finish off our tier list here?
My contract demands it, so let's do this.
That's the spirit. We are in the DLC now, and we are going to start with Moonshine Mob.
Fantastic first boss for the DLC because, so I remember we were experiencing it through our playthrough, right?
Yep.
A great boss fight to learn Miss Chalice.
Yeah, I will say, kind of an interesting thing with a lot of the DLC fights, I feel like a lot of them almost require either Miss Chalice's roll or the smoke bomb.
Yeah, because there's a lot of like instances where you find yourself in a position where you may want the invincibility frames of something like that, and yeah, the roll in particular for Miss Chalice, this is a great fight to learn it in because you got to learn the timing, you got to learn like being able to use it in 3 different levels, especially the first and second phase when you're fighting the tarantula boss and the jitterbugger. Yeah. The jitterbug lady.
Yeah, I think she's like a lightning bug, but yeah, she jitterbugs.
Mm-hmm. But all in all, the fight's fantastic. Great song. Just gonna say right now, Bootlegger Boogie is a fantastic theme.
I love when the female vocal part comes in for that phase.
The scatting, fantastic. Yeah. And yeah, overall the fight's like, it kind of shares in that whole like chaos thing. It's actually kind of funny because similar to how the Root Pack was the first, generally one of the first bosses you're going to fight in the game, which is also a 3-person team. Same thing with the Moonshiners. Like, you got the Tarantula, you got the Ladybug, and you got the Anteater, so they're basically a team. And yet it all comes together in a really, really good cohesive fight. And that fake out was funny.
Yeah.
I will say this, the fake out was funny. And I remember you mentioning, like, Dr. Call himself, you'd think he'd have less health than the robot. It made sense with the snail. The snail, like, is the fake out phase, but it's like, he doesn't take a lot to kill.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, maybe you might take one hit if you were down to one hit that could potentially kill you, but probably you'll be able to rally and finish the fight.
And even then, the fake out is like, oh, okay, his projectiles are slow, his pattern's very simple. As long as you're not caught unawares, then you should be fine. But I find it funny how if the game does catch you unawares, you're gonna pay for it. And that's just, like, in that instance, it's funny.
Yeah.
And just overall, the fight is just very well designed. Lots going on, lots of projectiles, but lots of instances for parries and a lot of instances to learn Miss Chalice, but still very, very manageable with either Cuphead or Mugman. Honestly, though, like, I feel there's a fight in this DLC roster that deserves S tier a little more. So I'm gonna put the Moonshiners at A.
I think that's a well-deserved A tier.
Yeah, very well-deserved A tier. It's not quite enough to make S, but it's close. Very close.
Yeah, I also just like the whole thing of how they're like, there's like a fight between like Moonshiners and police, like exploding, and you're just kind of in the middle of it.
Yeah, that's also really good. Like, the theming of the fight overall is just really, really fun.
Alright, so we were just talking about this one actually before we started recording today. Esther Winchester.
Esther Winchester, put that Esther in S tier, please!
Esther tier.
Yes, Esther Winchester is so much fun. Like, another example of a boss fight that maybe has a lot of bullshit going on, but all of it is fun bullshit.
And it feels like thematically cohesive.
Thematically cohesive, like, it all, like, is, like, really, really funny references between the snake oil with the ink wells, the dynamite, the using the lasso to pull a cactus, and just the different transformations and the different phases that Esther goes throughout that fight are so unbelievably wild.
Yeah.
And yet it all comes together in a really, really, really fun fight. It's high octane, it's fast, it's chaos. The theme is fantastic. Like, one of the best, probably one of the best themes in Inkwell Isle 4, and just it's just really fun. You told me when we were fighting it that it's like really, really popular among the Cuphead fan base. I see why. I still remember just having so much fun with this fight.
Something about, so that's the only airplane fight in the DLC.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's a fight on the ground, but like putting it so close to the ground like makes it feel like this like Wild West chase.
It really does, yeah. And I mean, it helps that Esther herself is kind of as big as a goddamn saloon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it feels very appropriate, and just, the fight is just so much fun. So many puns, so many jokes, so many, like, humorous references throughout the entire experience. Just a fantastic fight overall.
Well, I hate to bring it down or maybe bring it up, but right after that we have the Howling Aces, which gave us a little bit of trouble when we were tackling it.
First of all, I'm just gonna say right now, I'm a little bit disappointed at the fact that the Howling Aces is not a plane fight. You would think.
I mean, it's a plane fight. They have a plane.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just like...
We're standing on a plane.
Yeah, maybe it's just me I do like the fact that you're on the plane and the Canteen, Mr. Canteen, I don't remember his name.
He does have a name. It's like, it's Canteen something, yeah.
Yeah, but
it's probably a joke off of some animator.
I do like the fact that he is the one flying the plane, so that's a nice little callback. But I don't know, maybe I'm lamenting what we have, or maybe I'm lamenting what we didn't get rather than like celebrating what we have. But I feel like Howling Aces not being a plane stage just missed opportunity for a good classic dogfight, which this fight is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Other than that, the fight's fine. Like you do have to like maneuver the plane that you're standing on in order to get around it, but all in all, like, the projectiles are manageable. Like, everything else is like feels cohesive. There's a lot of really, really fun like animations going on throughout it. Like, everything feels fair for the most part, as like even into the second phase, which it's generally pretty easy because you just got those 4 hovering, like, dogs just, like, coming around you. It's generally not that bad. And then you get to the 3rd phase!
I want to point out one fun fact, which is, so you have fights like a Jimmy and Grim Matchstick where they built a model and filmed it for the background, which is pretty impressive. I think the Howling Aces is the only fight where the background is fully animated. There is a fully hand-drawn, like, view of the hills going past into the background.
Like, completely, totally hand-drawn animation.
Yeah.
I will admit, that is impressive.
But... yes, the camera flipping is very disorienting.
Oh my god, that 3rd phase with the Howling Aces is actually kind of, like, nausea-inducing, because it's one thing to, like, flip the controls and everything, and, like, trying to manage that is, like, difficult in and of itself, but it gets to the point of bullshit, almost to the point of unfair, especially when you're trying to, like, manage everything and the screen is spinning. That 3rd phase just really brings this fight down for me, I'm afraid.
That's another one where I feel like... I mean, I probably wouldn't like it regardless, but if it was phase 2, it might be a little better of just, like, it'd be easier to get to and to learn that phase and then, like, have, like, a phase 3 victory lap, but putting it at the very end is so frustrating.
I completely agree. I'm gonna be honest, I would put this in D tier. It's not a bad fight. Like, if it wasn't for that 3rd phase, like, with the spinning screen and everything, I would actually maybe put this in, like, B tier, maybe even A tier, but honestly, that 3rd phase alone brings it down to D tier.
I mean, you had to rank it based on your experience, and this one, like, made you physically ill.
Yeah, no, I did not enjoy this fight at all.
Which, you know, physically ill is still better than Beppy, apparently. But...
I mean, Beppy, like, just doesn't feel fun. The Howling Aces is fun up until that 3rd phase, at the very least. Like, I was having fun for a moment until suddenly the game started to give me a migraine.
Yeah. Well, going off of that, we have Glumstone the Giant, who I think is a little bit slept on as a boss.
I can kind of agree with that, I'm gonna be honest. And a lot of that does have to do with the fact that he... Maybe it's just me, right? He doesn't feel all that memorable compared to some of the other fights that we've seen. Like, I'll give the Howling Aces one thing. They're memorable, at the very least. This guy, he's okay. Like, I will say, the fight, in the grand scheme of it, really good. Like, really good animations, really good pacing, like, none of it felt unfair, even. Like, there was that whole thing where you had to, like, keep track of the ground because you had those, like, gnomes spiking up at you.
Yeah.
Which I actually found was a pretty fun little twist.
It's tough, but like Kagny Carnation, if you are looking out for everything, it does telegraph when something's gonna hit.
It's also one of those fights that, like, kind of forces you to experiment with, like, different, like, weapons in order to try and find a better strategy, similar to Grim Matchstick, because I found it interesting how when you have the Chaser, or I believe it was like the Crack Shot, the Crack Shot or the Chaser would sometimes go down and hit those gnomes before they shot projectiles, which suddenly took that out of the equation.
Yeah.
I remember we went through that first phase and discovered that after we took the Crack Shot or the Chaser off.
Yeah, we were like, oh my gosh, why did this get so much harder?
Yeah, which is, like, really, really interesting to me. And overall, the fight's fine, honestly. I would even consider it good. I would say B tier, honestly. I am actually going to agree with you. This guy is slept on a little bit. Because, he doesn't have the most memorable fight, but it is good.
Yeah, there is still the, like, when he swallows you, that whole section.
And just, again...
Yeah, a lot like Wally Warbles, actually. It's, like, not the most interesting, like, concept for a fight, but it's really solid, in my opinion.
I would say solid is, like, a perfectly good way to put it. Like, him and Wally Warbles, along with, I would say, the Root Pack, as well as, the Baroness Bon Bon, very solid fights that could have gone a little bit more interesting, like, directions, but what they do well. In my opinion.
Yeah. So, this is the one that I tend to find less memorable, and maybe it's just me, but Mortimer Freeze.
So, Mortimer Freeze, in general, kind of fits in with the Giant in that, also kind of a bit of a forgettable fight, but at the same time, not really, because this guy tests you.
He's tough.
I would say he's probably the hardest fight, the hardest boss fight in Inkwell Isle 4 besides the final one. And yeah, no, he's really, really hard. The problem is that thematically, it's... I hate to use this term, but thematically he's kind of boring.
Yeah, he's kind of just, he's the Ice King.
Basically!
Yeah.
Like, yeah, honestly.
And
like,
I love the Ice King.
Yeah, I love the Ice King too, and like we've had plenty of like really good ice-themed like fights throughout like all of video games and everything. I don't know, just nothing about him felt original. He's your classic D&D Ice Mage, Ice King from Adventure Time. He does the whole, you know, freezing projectiles, icicles.
He's played surprisingly straight.
He throws a refrigerator at you. He turns into like a snowflake that breaks into different crystals and
he
whatnot.
He does the Hisenko ground spires.
Yeah, exactly. Again, for what he does well, but he's just kind of forgettable, unfortunately. And on that regard, I feel like I should put him in C tier.
I'm okay with that. I'm not like a Mortimer Freeze defender.
Yeah, no, like, again, it could have done something a little bit better with the same concept, but it just needed some...
I remember learning his phase 2 when he's the big snowman.
Yeah.
And learning, like, when he's gonna jump and when he's gonna just roll on the ground.
That phase in particular is probably, like, the best part of the fight. The first one is, like, stupid easy when he's just, like, floating around and just, like, throwing the snow projectiles or the ice projectiles at you. And the third phase gets a little oppressive, but once you figure out the pattern, it's actually kind of stupid easy.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get to the final boss, I wanted to put in the game's one true secret boss, Angel and Devil.
I don't know how to feel about this one.
It's very gimmicky.
It's extremely gimmicky because, like, I do get the idea. It's just...
It's also very weird on co-op.
Honestly, though, yeah, like, it's weird on co-op because, like, which one is it tracking in terms of, like, where you're facing?
Yeah.
Like, that was never clear, and I still didn't figure it out when we were doing co-op, right?
Yeah.
The biggest issue I feel is plaguing this boss fight for me, because in a vacuum, it's fine. Like, okay, this is a cool boss fight, maybe a cool little secret with a devil, where, like, you have to, like, keep track of which projectiles are coming from where. The whole, like, angel-devil, like, night-day cycle thing where you, like... The gimmick is there, and I understand it. Why is it a secret boss?
It's just, like, a weird thing that happens, yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
For how hard it is to unlock, I'm not really impressed.
Exactly. It's like, okay, I expected maybe, like, this big, giant super boss, or maybe something that gives us a little more lore, like... Oh, hey, like, I was kind of expecting a cutscene or something, like, afterwards, where it was, like, the devil comes in and is like, I see you killed my other half, or you unlocked my angelic side type of thing, but no,
yeah.
it just appears, you beat it, and that's it.
Like, is this even, like, the same devil we fought in the main game? It's, like, where does the angel come? Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like something should be...
It feels like it needed more, because, like, it's just a one-phase gimmick of a fight. Is it bad? No. But it's kind of just a lot of nothing.
It almost feels closer to one of the King's Champions kind of fights.
It kind of does. I'm willing to call it meh, because it's not...
Oh no.
God.
Ah!
Careful. Again, it's not a bad fight. I would not call this a bad fight, but it's close. Just because it just feels like a whole lot of nothing for being a secret fight.
Well, I think Peppy might have to stay in E tier alone, because our last boss is the final boss of the DLC, Chef Saltbaker.
Chef Saltbaker is amazing, because... Like, we always love to compliment Cuphead for, like, the crazy animation, seeing, you know, the different, like, animations, the different transformations, all the different things that go on, such as all the boss fights in, all the mini-bosses in King Dice's fight, the crazy, like, transformations that, Esther Winchester goes through, or, like, Blimp Girl. Sorry, remind me of her name.
Hilderberg.
Like, the animations that Hilderberg go through. And then there's Chef Saltbaker, where it feels like they went animation ham. There's so much going on in this fight in just the background alone.
This was one where, like, it's not that the background was, like, distracting, like, the colors clashed. It was, like, I just wanted to watch the background, and that was getting me killed.
Yeah, no, like, I remember, like, playing through, and it was just, like, during the boss fight, we were just way too focused on dodging the projectiles, which are plenty in this fight. Like, there is a lot happening in the fight against Chef Saltbaker.
Phase 1 is a lot like Briny Beard, where it's a bunch of BS on the screen.
Yeah, but then, like, again, it's BS that feels fair, though, in the case of Chef Saltbaker, because
it is a final boss, and it is telegraphed,
Yeah, he's the final boss, so he's supposed to be hard, and if you can just at least get a glimpse of what he's cutting up in the background, you know which attack is coming.
Also, the fact that the attacks are the different ingredients that you've collected in the DLC, too.
Great thematic direction that they took with Chef Saltbaker.
Yeah, it's like mint leaves and
sugar cubes.
Yeah, limes, I think.
Yeah, the limes, the, like, just everything about it. And I also, like, I remember watching it after we played through it. I remember watching the episode that you put out, right? Dude, the animations with Chef Saltbaker in the background are immaculate.
And that's all just phase 1. I mean, that's not even getting to the like, Salt Inferno.
Like, dude, like, the Salt Inferno, the salt elementals that you have to, like, deal with, like, during the second phase. And then you get to the heart with, like, the maelstrom of salt, like, in the third phase.
I watched a YouTube video talking about this fight where he said, like, in this fight, you are jumping across pieces of his skin surrounded by his blood.
In a very roundabout way, yeah, you kind of are, aren't you? And, dude, the whole thing where, like, he grabs you, like, this is actually kind of... You could say that this is a 4-phase boss fight. Because there's the first part where
I'd say it is, yeah.
Yeah, the first part where he's making the where he's baking the, what's it called, the Wonder Tart?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's baking the Wonder Tart. He grabs you, holds onto you, and is like assaulting you with pepper.
Yeah.
The third phase where he summons the salt elementals, and then the fourth phase, which is that big salt maelstrom.
And the heart.
And the heart, which, again, and yet all of it feels really, really well paced.
Yeah.
Like, all of it comes together for one bombastic boss fight, to the point where I feel like Cuphead deserves S-tier bosses. Or S-tier final bosses. Like, both the final bosses of this game, both the Devil and Saltbaker, peak performance when it comes to boss design.
I'm taking that as an S-tier.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Saltbaker shares with the Devil in being S-tier ranked final bosses.
Alright, now let me just say here, like, naturally we're gonna be grading kind of on a curve. Like, even Beppy down here in the bad boss, like, all these bosses have so much love and work put into them and their animations and their design.
Like, at the end of the day, like, I'll say what I say about Beppy, but I definitely see the direction and I understand the effort that was put into him.
Now, I don't think... Yeah, we're not going to bother to rank within each tier. Each tier is essentially... Everybody is tied with each other. So let me ask, Oscar, can we close ranks here? Does this get your Oscar Duarte seal of approval?
I am going to say yes, it does. I am pretty happy with where we placed all the bosses here.
Alright, and that is the final round of our show, so it's time for us to tally the results. Now, of course, we are scoring here, opinions are very serious, so let's go through our little rounds here. In Daffy and Donald, I need my... Sorry, our Photoshopian display here. You managed to get 4 out of 7 here in Daffy and Donald. In What's Up Cup, you pulled out a very respectable 7 out of 8.
Hey.
And most importantly, was the tier list the correct answers in regards to your opinion? Oscar, you scored a perfect 26 out of 26.
And here I thought you were gonna get, like, I was, like, prepared for you to have, like, your own tier list and seeing which ones, like, differed and which ones did not.
Oscar, that gives you a final score of 3 gold stars.
Hey!
You did it, Oscar.
I feel validated.
You were correct about your opinion.
Yay! I wonder if the audience agrees with that.
Well, you can let us know in the comments. Oscar, you, for getting 3 gold stars, have won our grand prize, which is you get to plug yourself or anything you're doing right now. Tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you, Comic Foil. So, yeah, for those of you who follow Comic Foil, I'm gonna be real. You probably already follow me, but in case you don't, I'm the GreenScorpion, and I tend to do a lot on my channel, mainly video games, video game countdowns, video game let's plays, the occasional little short here and there. So if you guys want to check out what I do and want to see more of myself and more of Comic Foil, check out the GreenScorpion, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys there.
All right. Well, until next time, guys, this has been Tears of Joy. Thank you so much for joining me in this pilot episode. Share your opinions, share what you thought of the show, share what you think about the Cuphead bosses. Let me know what you think of this format, because this is something I want to try a lot more, maybe get some different guests on here.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, the sky's the limit, and there are only Tears of Joy ahead. So until next time, I'm the Comic Foil.
I'm the GreenScorpion.
And you have yourself a fantastic, tearful day.